Flower is a love something, a luscious living love something, a daffodil, a rose, no matter where it grows.
It's such a lovely love something.
A flower is the heart of spring that makes the rolling hillside sing. The gentle winds that blow, blow gently, for they know
a flower is a love something.
Laying in the breeze, swaying with the trees, in the silent night or in the morning light, such a miracle. Azaleas drinking pale moonbeams, gardenias floating through daydreams, wherever they may grow, no matter where you go, a flower is a love something.
A flower is a love something.
Good morning. First of all, I've seen a preview of the creative genius of Reverend Susan this morning, so brace yourselves. Welcome. Welcome to the San Jose Center for Spiritual Living, where we are all about transforming our lives, building dreams, and revealing love. And where all that we ask is that you remain open to the possibility of changing your entire life by changing your mind. My name is Marcia Bencala, and I'm a licensed prayer practitioner, and I want to give an especially warm welcome if you're here visiting us for the first time or you have found us online. We're very happy that you're here, and there are all kinds of ways you can find out about us. Yes, we're kind of a crazy, fun group, but we also go deep, and you can find out information about classes that we offer, workshops. After the service, if you go over into Fellowship Hall, we have a concierge desk with people that'll answer your questions, or you can visit an information wall where you can pick up flyers about our workshops and classes. We also have a welcome packet. If you end up going out the foyer, you can pick that up. And if you're online, Max Overland is your moderator, and he's there to answer your questions as well, or you can always visit our website and find the same information. And one of our deep spiritual practices actually is being in community together, because that reminds us that we are all connected as one. So if you take a moment right now and say hello to somebody nearby.
Good morning. My name is Ron Wade. I'm a licensed prayer practitioner here at the Center for Spiritual Living. And today I am your practitioner of the day on this very special day, which happens to be my birthday. And there's no place I'd rather be than right here, right now. So we're going to celebrate and honor and go into reverence with 2 minutes of silence. The musicians are going to lead us into that 2 minutes of silence. And if you could do a quick double check and make sure your portable electronic devices are either off or on silence, that would be great. And after that 2 minutes of silence, I will lead a prayer and we'll do the affirmation of the month.
I call on the light within. I call on the light within. I call on the light, I call on the light, I call on the light within. I call on the light within. I call on the light within. I call on the light, I call on the light, I call on the light within. I call on the light within. I call on the light within. I call on the light. I call on the light. I call on the light within.
God, life, source energy, Yahweh, Allah, the Tao, the thing itself, the One. So many different names for the One. So many different names pointing back to that which is all that is. And that oneness is experiencing itself and expressing itself and knowing itself in so many infinite different ways. Yet it is one. And that oneness is here in, as, and through me. And from that place of oneness, a deep sense of peace and knowing and calm arises. And that peace and knowingness and calm is not dependent upon external circumstances. It is not dependent upon external events. It just is. And knowing that the One is the all that is, the light, the life, and that the dark is just the absence of that light, and that all conditions are the absence of the light, absence of the life, absence of the joy, and therefore don't really exist. That calmness, that peace, that knowingness wells up through me. And from the place of oneness, what is welling up through me, I claim for everyone, everywhere. And in that stillness, I become exceedingly grateful for that knowing and that existence and that being. And in that place, I release my word into the action of the law, which always works and always answers with yes. And please help me by anchoring it by saying, and so it is. Join me for this month's affirmation, please. Everything I think, say, or do is governed by divine intelligence and inspired by divine wisdom. I am guided into right action. I am aware of my partnership with the infinite. I know that everything I do shall prosper.
Good morning, family. I'm honored to bring to our community Alan Taylor, who is a professor at College of Marin, a drama teacher at College of Marin, and he is a jazz singer. So we bring some jazz to you this morning. Let us welcome Alan Taylor.
Smile, though your heart is aching. Smile, even though it's breaking. When there are clouds in the sky, you'll get by. If you smile through your fear and sorrow, smile and maybe tomorrow you'll see the sun come shining through for you. Light up your face with gladness. Hide every trace of sadness. Although a tear may be ever so near, that's the time you must keep on trying. Smile, what's the use of crying? You'll find that life is still worthwhile if you just smile. Let's see, we have lyrics. Why don't you join me? Smile, though your heart is aching. Smile, even though it's breaking. When there are clouds in the sky, we'll get by. If you smile through your fear and sorrow, smile and maybe tomorrow you'll see the sun come shining through for you. Light up your face with gladness. Hide every trace of sadness. Although a tear may be ever so near, that's the time you must keep on trying. Smile, what's the use of crying? You'll find that life is still worthwhile if you, one more time, you all. Come on and really join me this time. Smile, though your heart is aching. Smile, even though it's breaking. When there are clouds in the sky, you'll get by. If you smile through your fear and sorrow, smile and maybe tomorrow you'll see the sun come shining through for you. Light up your face with gladness, hide every trace of sadness, although a tear may be ever so near. That's the time you must keep on trying. Smile, what's the use of crying? You'll find that life is still worthwhile. If you just, you'll find that life is still worthwhile. If you just, you'll find that life is still worthwhile. If you just smile. If you just smile.
Thank you very much.
Good morning and welcome to the Family Feud. I am your host, Helen Harty, and today we are meeting two families, the Weasleys and the Malfoys. All right, families, have you decided who will play first? Come on, Dad. Come on. Come on, Dad. All right, fathers, Lucius, Arthur. Here's how we play. We have surveyed 100 people, and the top 3 answers are on the board to this question. Name something people do on a Sunday.
What a ridiculous question. There are many things to do on a Sunday. How should I know the top 3?
Go to church.
Oh, Mr. Weasley, you must ring in first.
Go to church. You need to be quicker than that, Weasley. Much quicker.
Survey says, go to church. That is the number 1 answer. And the play goes to the Malfoys. I'm so sorry, Mr. Weasley. You do have to remember to ring in first before your answer is stolen. It's all right, Dad. It's all right, Dad. Malfoys, will you pass or play?
Play.
All right. That brings us to you then. Tell us your name.
You can't mean you don't know. I'm Draco Malfoy, second year Hogwarts student and champion Quidditch.
Champion?
That's enough, Ron. Yes, be quiet, Weasley, and pay attention while I ace this game too. Maybe you'll learn something.
All right, Draco. There are 2 remaining answers on the board to this question. Something people do on a Sunday.
What do you think? Watch the Quidditch.
Homework.
Matt always practices his spells on Sunday.
Don't be stupid. It's not up there. Watch the Quidditch match.
Survey says, watch the Quidditch matches. That is the number 2 answer. There is 1 more left on the board. Dobby, your turn. Tell us about yourself.
Well, Dobby has nothing to tell Mistress Hardy. He's a simple house elf. If he talks too much, he'll have to iron his hands.
Oh, well then, you won't make me talk too much then. Just long enough to give us that 3rd answer. Something people do on a Sunday.
Well, Dobby sees Master practicing his spells on Sunday. Dobby hears Master practicing his spells against the Mudbloods. So that's Dobby's answer. Practice spells?
You better be right.
Survey says, oh, yes. No, I'm afraid that's not in the top 3. And the play will now go to the Weasleys.
Bad Dobby, bad Dobby. Dobby gave the wrong answer.
I'll deal with you later.
All right. Your turn, Weasleys. Mrs. Weasley, yes, is it?
Yes, I am Molly Weasley, and time is punched to say so, although this bunch, they can be a handful.
I'm sure they are. And you could win the round for your family if you can give us that third answer. Something people do on a Sunday.
It's not like they don't need the money. Maybe if she wins, they can get rid of their second-hand clothes.
Pay no mind to the ill-mannered.
Yes.
I know what I'd like to do on a Sunday. Sleep in.
Good answer. Survey says sleep in. And the Weasleys have won that round. Let's have the players up for round 2. All right. Ron, Draco, again, we've surveyed 100 people, and the top 2 answers are on the board to this question. What is it that makes us who we are?
Power!
Survey says no, not on there. Ron, what do you think the answer is?
Your loved one.
Figures they'd come up with something lame like that.
All right. Survey says your loved ones. That is the number 2 answer, Ron. And would the Weasleys like to pass or play?
Play. We'll pass and give the Malfoys another chance.
Mom!
Oh! It's all right to be gracious.
All right. Malfoys, then it's your turn. Narcissa, is it?
Right. I'm his mother.
You must be so proud. What is... Please tell us, what is the number 1 thing that makes us who we are?
Money. If it's not power, it's got to be money.
Well then, show me the money. No, not money. And how about you, Bellatrix? What is your connection to the Malfoys?
Connection? How dare you speak to me?
Really? All right then. All right then, how about the answer, the number 1 answer to what is it that makes us who we are?
Food! You are what you eat! What is my answer? Show me now! I don't like to be kept waiting.
Oh, really, Bellatrix? You have no power here. Survey says... not food.
You'll pay for that. Never mind. It's not like those people will get it either. What do you say, Weasley? The number 1 thing that makes you who you are? It's obviously not the people you associate with. Muggles and mudbloods and giants and fools. Go ahead, try and answer this one.
And obviously, it's not money, power, or bloodline. Weasleys. You could win the round for your family. Here we are. If you can tell us the number 1 thing that makes you who you are.
Mum, I think I've got it. 'Tis unity.
Wait, Jenny, that's a good answer, but remember what Professor Dumbledore says. It's not your abilities that make you who you are, it's your choices. That's the answer, choices.
And is that your final answer?
Yes, choices.
Survey says yes. It is your choices that make you who you are, and the Weasleys have won the family feud. Please remember to see your studio ushers on the way out for your lovely parting gift.
Thank you, Dave. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, good morning. Thank you for the Family Feud. For those of you who are new here, I'm David Bruner. I'm the senior minister here at the center. And every summer it is our custom and our tradition that we have a bit of a summer program, which is usually a 5-minute skit for about 8 weeks that precedes the part of the message exploration. And so today is week 4 of is that right? Yes. If it isn't, you won't remember. So, what's that? Tis week 4. So I'm very grateful to be here and to have a lot of fun with this congregation. Thank you. For those of you who are new here, this is kind of how we do church. Until we don't. So yesterday I was down in Southern California at a wedding of a friend of mine, and it was so good just to be with family and friends from Southern California before I returned back here. And while I was down there, we were hanging around the swimming pool yesterday in Newport Beach, and I was listening to a friend of mine who has 4 children talking about her life as a mother. And her kids are very close in age and really, really young and rambunctious and lively. And I look at her sometimes and think, you've got to be the most generous person in the whole world. And she was telling me about one of her children, the second child. She said that I totally love and adore my daughter, she tells me. But when God delivered her with a broken volume control button. I said, what are you talking about? She said, well, this is what morning is like at my house. She said, first off, the loud one comes in and goes, Mom, wake up, Mom, wake up. You got to come out the window. You got to come look at the window outside my bedroom. There's crows there. And she said, she's like, I went to bed like an hour and a half ago, and she's doing this, And when she's doing that, then the very youngest comes in and climbs up into the bed with her and rests in that space between breast and chin and looks right into her face and says, why do you smell like peanut butter? And so she said she gets up to go look at the crows out the window when her third child runs in and jumps on her back and says, can I have a piggyback ride? And she said, at that moment when I got three kids hanging on me, I turned to my husband and said, they're yours. So she peels herself away. Her husband takes over, and she goes into her backyard so she can begin what's really important for her, her spiritual practice. So she can maintain her commitment to be an extraordinary parent and human being and wife and mother and girlfriend to her husband. And when she goes in the backyard, she said she has this Adirondack chair that's hers, and it's sitting right next to their pussy willow tree. And she said she sat down there with a cup of Good Earth spiced tea, and she could hear the ruckus in the house, her kids and her husband, when the oldest child walked out. And she said she looked right at her oldest child who was making her way toward her, and she went. So the oldest child came and sat down next to her. She's probably like 6 or 7. And she says to her, we're going to practice our spiritual practice. Now, I'm going to tell you a secret that the other 3 don't know. But it's only between you and me. Can you keep a secret? Yes, I can keep a secret. Okay. She said, so sit next to me. And the reason why I sit here next to the pussy willow tree every day is because I've learned something. When you sit next to this tree and you're really, really, really quiet and really, really still for a very long time, and you have to be still and quiet, the pussy willow tree, you will hear it meow. So she said, it's a surefire way, she said, she gains 1 hour of total silence and stillness every day. And I was thinking about her this morning while I was watching the Family Feud. It is our choices that define who we are, far more than our abilities. And my friend has she's made this extraordinary choice. And that is to not yell at her kids, or not be tempted to go have another drink, or to behave in a way in which that she will not be particularly proud of herself. But she's made a choice that allows in her, I've seen a sense of creativity that's pretty inspiring. I just love that a mother would tell her kid that the pussy willow tree will meow. She chose another way. Choice. There seems to be a compulsion in our society to complain. It's not only okay to complain now, it's actually compulsory. Complain about the weather, complain about the traffic, complain about your spouse, your future spouse, your ex-spouse, your soon-to-be ex-spouse, complain about your kids, complain about the economy, complain about the government not working fast enough, working too fast, complain about the healthcare bills, complain. And we've made it very easy to complain. But I noticed something about complaints. Complaints are often just like manure. But if all you do is pile on manure and you don't add any seeds, nothing will grow. And I believe that we, as folks who know who we really are, we're actually called to make an impact in the world in a way that is new and creates an opening. I don't think it's permissible anymore for folks like us, even if you're here for the first time, who have an awareness that you want to build a world that works for everyone, who's aware that you can actually transform lives by the way that you show up, that you can help people build dreams by being an opening for possibility with them, and you can actually reveal love in a very tangible and measurable way. I don't believe it's permissible for those of us who know this to then participate in the way of the world as the world is currently working, which is unworkable. I see bumper stickers. I hear conversations. I look at the Ministry of Prayer email prayer list every week. What I've noticed is we are people who are called to making an impact in the world and to watching peace and prosperity and kindness and generous sharing of resources become a real experience. And we will not do that while the way we're moving through the world is in a complaining, griping, criticizing, belittling, hostile way. So our behavior, and you guys realize I'm talking to me, right? So I'm not preaching at your shame, and you're all really quiet, like suddenly we're back in catechism. I'm speaking to me, and I'm grateful that you're here joining me as I have this conversation with myself. But I have to have the way I show up in the world match what I say are my values. It's not okay for me. And I dare say for anyone who's really awake to who they are, or who's awakening to who they are, it's inconsistent to say that life is good, God is good, all is possible, where I am, God is, and then to use that knowledge and that power in such a way that we tear down and belittle and destroy and make wrong. Someone has to take the higher path. And I'm assuming, since you made it here on Sunday, when you have so many other things that you can be doing on a beautiful Sunday in Northern California or wherever you're watching online, I assume that what we're exploring matters to you and matters to the people that matter to you. One of the cost benefits of being in a place like this is really not how it's going to make your life better. I mean, that's nice. If we do that, if your life is transformed even a little bit, I'm happy. But my real aim is not so much you, because you already have what it takes to transform your own life. What really matters to me is that you transform your life for the people that matter to you. For your kids, or your government, or your nation, or your friends, or your co-workers, your employees, your employers, the families of those who lost people on Malaysia Airlines Flight 17, Hamas, Israel, Palestine. We can actually impact it. But we won't impact it while we keep piling on manure. So I really paid attention when my friend was talking about all the crazy energy that is her children. And the way she moves through it is stunning to me. I'm just mystified and inspired by it. And I think if she can do that, then it's okay for me to learn how to not be cranky while I'm waiting to board an overbooked flight. It's okay not to get upset when I'm tempted to get upset. So I was in a hotel in Newport Beach, and it was a really, really nice hotel, but somehow I got in one of those rooms that they had forgotten about insulation in the walls between my room and the room next to me. Somehow must have been some weird building vortex that caused me to hear the people in the room next to me as if I was sharing their bed without the benefits. And the conversation that I heard starting at about 2 o'clock in the morning, the conversation I heard was about how I should not have eaten that steak, And then the conversation was, do you have any Alka-Seltzer? And then it was like, ugh, and it wasn't pleasant moaning. You know, the kind you like secretly hope to hear in a hotel? It's the kind of stuff you pretend you're embarrassed to hear, but you really stay awake to hear. No, this is really unpleasant, like, oh my God, I do not want to hear this kind of conversation. And then I heard a man, that man, in the bathroom, forcing himself to vomit. Yeah, so I was laying in bed thinking about this sermon. Because that's what you do, right? So I was laying in bed listening to him as he was, I forgot what you call it when you... No. But what's it called when you attempt to make yourself vomit? What? No, purging is the result. It doesn't matter. Somebody will Google this, and 12 of you are going to tell me what it's going to be later on. I'm looking forward to that. So, anyway, my sermon became infinitely clear to me in that moment. What I wanted to explore with you today is infinitely clear to me. But it's infinitely clear to me because it's what created beauty by myself in that hotel room, listening to what was taking place just a few feet from my head. It comes from spiritual laws, not mental laws. Mental laws are when you change your thinking, change your life. Mental laws are when you learn to use spiritual mind treatment or affirmative prayer or affirmation. You learn to use it to create a specific result. It's like programming your GPS. That would be mental laws. And when you use mental laws, you begin to handle your earth-based needs, and your world begins to work, which opens up the doorway for a whole new world of possibility that you wouldn't normally enter into if you were worried about your resources. You guys know what I mean by that? If you're worried about if you're worried about a lesion or a diagnosis or a pink slip or your kid on drugs or your neighbors fighting or a lawsuit, you know, that kind of stuff. When you handle your earth-based needs through mental science, all kinds of doors open up. But there's a transcendent law. There is actually a law that transcends mental science. Christians call it grace. I'm really interested in it. Because sometimes it gets exhausting trying to manipulate the universe. Sometimes it gets really exhausting trying to find the perfect site, to find the perfect mate, to have the perfect life, to look perfect. Or sometimes it's just exhausting trying to get our kids to behave or to be quiet or to sit still or to pay our bills. And there is a law that transcends mental law. It's spiritual law. It's high mysticism. And I'm committed to exploring a 30-week exploration with this community. And I mentioned last week in a sample poll a question, who would be interested in pursuing this? And Reverend Doris from the education team is taking it on and has altered her schedule so that we can explore this as a community. And if you'd like to know more about being with me and many others on Tuesday nights beginning in September for 30 Tuesday nights, see Reverend Doris. Reverend Doris, can you stand so people can see who you are? See her if you want to know if you have the prerequisites necessary. And there are 4 prerequisites, and they're pretty stringent. So if you want to do that, but for those of you who are not going to be, and for those of you who are going to be, here's a preview. There's a profound detail in spiritual science, in mysticism, in grace, that is a prerequisite and absolute. It is non-negotiable. It is absolutely required for one who wants to explore the mystic path. And it comes from Emma Curtis Hopkins in Description. She said that your elevated consciousness and our elevated consciousness can be quickly eliminated by complaining, whining, mourning, and cynicism. I must not allow my disposition to become cranky and unpleasant. I'm not allowed to be cranky and unpleasant. I must praise and appreciate everything. That's the key. I must praise and appreciate everything. So when 2 o'clock in the morning, listening to the man trying to induce vomiting, became 4 o'clock in the morning and he still wasn't successful, I was laying in bed thinking, I must praise and appreciate everything. I must praise and appreciate everything. I'm so grateful he's trying to vomit up that steak so I can hear it. I must praise and appreciate everything. You know, but something begins to shift. In the past, I might have been in that same situation and began playing out how I'm going to have this dialogue with my friends when they ask me, why do you look so tired? Oh, let me tell you what last night was like. Oh, let me tell you what I experienced in Newport Beach and the amount of money I paid for that hotel room, you know. But instead, I was laying there, I must praise and appreciate everything. I must praise and appreciate everything. And a window to my soul began to open up. And I began to think, wow, how grateful I am. I'm absolutely awake at 4:11 in the morning. And I have nothing but me and time. I can practice being silent even in the noise. And that began a whole domino series of beautiful stuff that has led all the way to this morning. But while I was laying there, I was remembering the AIDS life cycle I was in 2012. I ride, typically, I'm going to take next year off, but for the last 8 years in a row, I've ridden my bicycle with 3,000 other folks from San Francisco to Los Angeles to raise money for a very worthy cause. But I do it because I really am drawn to the community. It's like being for 1 week in a world that could exist, where everyone takes care of everyone, there's enough for everyone and enough to share, where people have their minor explosions and their spats and their mental breakdowns and their emotional breakdowns, but even when they do, people around them forgive them quickly and help them clean it up, and we sort of get on without creating martyrs and victims. And 2012, there was one day where 3,000 of us were stranded because there was an unexpected rainstorm, and it was cold, and cyclists were trapped in the rain and they had nowhere to go, and the infrastructure to get 3,000 cyclists, which is not safe to ride anymore with your narrow tires on those wet pavement. So we had to seek shelter wherever we could. And some of us found churches that opened their doors, ultra-conservative churches in Salinas, ultra-conservative, letting all these mixed people, many who were very colorful and flamboyant, they made me look really butch. You guys, you know what I'm talking about? Well, don't laugh that hard. But they opened their doors wide, and we had many reasons to complain. We can complain that they didn't watch the weather well enough. We could complain that they should never have let 3,000 of us out on the road like that. We could complain that they didn't have the infrastructure to collect our bicycles and get us back to camp safely. But something mystical happened. There were people who chose, like we heard in the Family Feud today, our choices are what make us what we are. People chose to have a good time anyway. Now, what we did have is they quickly passed out through these groups everywhere. I happened to be hanging out in a high school gymnasium with several hundred folk who all had these little Mylar blankets. But what Mylar blankets are, have you ever seen a Mylar balloon? It looks like a foil balloon. Well, a Mylar blanket is a piece of Mylar that's like 6 foot by 6 foot square, folded into this tiny little square. But when you put it on you, it's like putting on a piece of Mylar. It's a miracle how that happens. But you suddenly become warm very fast. So all of us have these Mylar blankets, so we're not shivering so much. In fact, we started to get warm. But some fertile souls began to create a fashion show. And then people started folding and weaving and tying their Mylar, and next thing you know, we have like this impromptu runway taking place, and people are walking that, and we were entertained and laughing, and all of a sudden what could have been the worst day of the ride turned out to be the best day of my 8 years on the AIDS life cycle, because people made a choice. And in making that choice, spiritual law was in place, because we weren't complaining or cranky or crabby, and even though we had reason to be, something emerged that was beautiful. I know of a man, real man, he's 42 years old, he's Chinese, uneducated, single, divorced, has a child, severely physically deformed child. The child is 12 years old. He's got a condition that causes his arms and his legs to grow in toward each other, so he cannot walk, and he really cannot use, he holds a writing instrument like this. And the local school in the province in which this man lives, that was the correct answer. The province in which this family lives do not have the resources to educate this boy in a way that's effective. So this 42-year-old divorced single man determined that his kid's going to get an education. And so every day, since last November, every school day, he straps to his back a basket. It looks like a hand-woven hamper basket. It's about that tall, about that big around. And he straps it to his back. And then somebody lifts his 12-year-old boy into his basket. And the boy puts his arms around his dad's neck. And the man walks 4.5 miles to leave his child at school. And then he walks back home 4.5 miles to do his farm work. And when he's done farming and school's over, he walks 4.5 miles back to pick up his son, which he puts in a basket and carries him back home 4.5 miles. That's 9 miles twice a day. 18 miles a day he walks with his son so that his child has an education. What happened as of last month, is the child is now top of his class, and he's going to enter next year into a college preparatory class. And this made national, worldwide news actually, and another province has provided a small room, so now the father and the son have relocated. But I'm telling you the story because it's inspiring to me that man had a choice. And the choice was to complain, to lament, and to be paralyzed by righteous victimization. It's not his fault his kid is like his kid is. It's not his fault that things have turned out the way that they are. But he transcended the temptation to complain and succumb. And he took a route of reasonable transformation. And that totally inspires me. So, any of you ever heard of someone named Esther Hicks? Oh, come on, you closet people. I know who you are. You know Esther and Jerry Hicks. Well, Esther and Jerry Hicks have taught us to praise the rainy day and do something with your mylar. Praise the 18-mile round trip walk. Praise what's going on no matter what. Esther Hicks gives us something that you can do, and it's what I'm going to leave you with today. For those of you who are wondering, well, how is it that I can be calm in the presence of my kid who is call? How can I be calm in the presence of rain and 3,000 cyclists not knowing where to go or whatever it is you're facing? Esther Hicks tells us, if there's anything to praise, I praise it. And if there's anything to criticize, I pet my cat until the criticizing feeling goes away. So this week I want to invite you to praise what there is to praise and what there isn't. Pet your cat or your dog or the nearest person who will let you. Until the urge to criticize passes. I suspect amazing things will happen because Dumbledore was spot on. It is our choices rather than our abilities that make us what we are. So let's choose wisely. Join me as we pray together. I'm very grateful to have a moment and speak my word. I'm speaking my word for anyone within earshot. And my word has power because it comes from the one power. There's only one power. I know there isn't 2 powers or 3 or 4 or 7 or 14 powers. There's only one power. And that one power is what causes me to have voice, what causes you and I to have ears to listen, insight, and choice. And so I speak my word for each of us. I speak my word because I can, because there's no power to oppose it. And the word that I speak is this week we are inspired by grace. We are inspired by awareness, newness, and willingness. Even if we're laying in the bed of a hotel room, hearing what's keeping us awake in the middle of the night, I praise and appreciate everything. I praise and appreciate everything. I praise and appreciate everything. And if we cannot appreciate everything, we can pet our cat or go for a walk or sit silent in front of a pussy willow tree until we can. But in the meantime, I'm asking everyone in this room to join me in taking a stand, a spiritual stand for, again, the families of those lost at Malaysia Airlines Flight 17 and what's going on in the Middle East, so that we might not be distracted by it, because the world is still very interested in this. And while the world is very interested, then the world needs comfort, and we have comfort to give. So I ask you to sing with me again, just a few rounds of I Call on the Light Within, to regenerate and reinvigorate and renew our prayer of last week. Won't you join me?
I call on the light within. I call on the light. I call on the light. I call on the light within. I call on the light within. I call on the light within. I call on the light. I call on the light. I call on the light within. I call on the light within. I call on the light within. I call on the light. I call on the light. I call on the light within.
Before the ushers come forward to help us with the sharing of our gifts and tithes and offerings, and before I turn it over to the musicians to take us onto our next stage before we close out in about 5 minutes, I wanted just to acknowledge that this weekend is about the halfway point in the Major League Baseball season. I'm quite aware of it. It was beautiful to be at a gathering on Wednesday night, a church gathering in which some very holy things were happening, when apparently one person had an earbud in their ear and they screamed, "Glory, hallelujah, the San Francisco Giants had won." So I realized what's going on in the community. We're all very excited about this, but I also noticed that the Chicago Cubs don't traditionally do very well. I don't know if you noticed this, and I know we've got some folks here from Chicago. I love your city. It's amazing. And I'm even more inspired by Chicago Cub fans. Why, you might ask? Well, because Chicago Cub fans are fans of a team that almost certainly will not make it into the World Series. And even though chances of making it to the World Series are like really, really low, these people take a stand and show up to support their team. They love their team, and they have faith that their team is going to win. This really moves me and it inspires me. And I got to tell you something. When I think about teams and I think about the Chicago Cubs, I'm thinking that we here at the center, we have amazing teams. They're volunteers and their staff, and they're the board of trustees, the core council that was elected, and your licensed practitioners who pray with you, and the volunteers and the music team, and the people who are putting together the summer series, and our outreach team, and team of people who take care of the world, which would be you. Now that's a winning team. It's a winning team. And when the ushers help us with the sharing of our gifts and tithes and offerings, I'm asking you to be generous to the teams that are making an impact. Now, we're not going for a trophy, but what we're going for is measurable transformation in people's lives. Now, if you're not able to give generously financially, I get it. I totally get it. I still want you to give generously to the center. I want you to give generously. I'm challenging you to give generously of your time. Somehow find a way to serve your community. If not here at this location, serve your local neighborhood. Make an impact in the world. I would like to see people serve generously by giving their time to be attentive to the people around you who might be having their meltdowns. But this week, be generous with your time and your talent and your treasure any way that you can. Because what's going on in the Middle East, by the way, that will be impacted when people even here in Northern California are generous and not withholding resources or love or attention. That impacts everywhere. So we have power, even if we have no money. So while the ushers do come forward, I invite you to share with me our giving affirmation. And it is, my eyes and ears are attuned to the opportunities the universe provides for me to receive. I am open to receive what blessings are coming my way today and every day.
On a clear day, rise and look around you, and you'll see who you are. On a clear day, how it will astound you that the glow of your being outshines every star you feel part of. Every mountain, sea, and shore, you can hear from far and near a world you've never heard before. And on a clear day, on that clear day, you can see forever and evermore. On a clear day, rise and look around you. Thank you. You'll see who you are. On a clear day, how it will astound you that the glow of your being outshines every star you feel part of. Every mountain, sea, and shore, you'll hear from far and near a world you've never heard before. And on a clear day, on that clear day, you can see forever and evermore. You can see forevermore. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your music. We're so grateful. Hi, everybody. Just a few announcements before we head out for the day.
Hi, I'm Ann Marshall. We have a silent and live auction going to be held here in September. We're 7 weeks out. We have a new flyer. Everyone knows 5 people who are interesting, own a business, maybe are famous, or just have great connections. So we want you to fill this out and drop it by our table. Come by and we can help us make this auction sparkle.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, and thanks, Joanne. Looking forward to it. I know 5 famous people. Hey, everybody. So 12:30 today, Reverend Doris, as Dr. David mentioned about the Inward Journey, Reverend Doris is actually holding an orientation. Is it in here, Doris? Right in here at 12:30 today. So if you're interested in finding out about Practitioner One training, if you're interested in actually starting Practitioner One training this fall, if you want to maybe think about it down the road, if you are called to that, there'll be a meeting at 12:30 today right here. And on Monday evening, there are still 3 Mondays left to take Dr. David's class, Managing Emotions and Thriving Under Pressure, for those who maybe feel like your emotions are in charge and not you. On Wednesday evening, it's a 5th Wednesday, so this Wednesday is going to be all about creativity. We're going to play different games and do some things with words, so please join us this Wednesday night for the Wednesday Spiritual Practices class. It is free. Thursday is our meditation from 7 to 8, also free, followed by a very light meal. And Creative Brilliance, the last day to register for our paint on canvas, as you can see the results of that class right here. The last day to register is August 1st. And Reverend Tony Cormier is starting a new Grief Revelations group. However, it's not a drop-in group. If you are interested in attending, please speak with Reverend Tony directly, and she will give you more information to see if the class is a fit for you. On next Sunday, there's an introduction to the Landmark Forum at 12:30. And if you love camping, who doesn't? Then you can go with members of your community on the Mount Madonna camping trip at Mount Madonna County Park. The camping trip is August 15th through the 17th. And it's facilitated, it's hosted by Margaret Atherton. You know, and really, I know I joke about it, but Margaret does an amazing job every summer, and our families go, and they really, really have a good time. So I hope you go and have fun. Send me a postcard. And on just last thing, on August 6th, I mentioned last week, August 6th, we have a very special opportunity to have Nicole Henry, who is a jazz artist who will be performing at the San Jose Jazz Festival, and she's actually hosting a bit of a dress rehearsal here. We're asking for a love offering of $40. I made a mistake last week, it's $40, but no one's turned away. It's just a love offering. It's not a performance, it's a dress rehearsal, so it's kind of like eavesdropping on her dress rehearsal, but the music will be spectacular, and we hope you can come, and that's on August 6th. If there's something in your life for which you would like prayer, and you do not want to leave here heavy-hearted, or maybe you just want to celebrate something, please see a licensed practitioner after service under the windows in the chapel area right there, and they will be more than happy to pray with you. It's free and it's our gift. Thanks, everybody. Have a great week.
As is our custom, we close with a call response. Would you please stand and take the hand of the person on your right and on your left? I'd invite you, we're going to close today, though, with a response from Emma Curtis Hopkins. It's from her book, Scientific Christian Mental Practice. And it is a perspective of spiritual science. Please repeat after me. I am satisfied with the world in which I walk.
I am satisfied with the world in which I walk.
All things please me.
All things please me.
Near me is the presence of good.
Near me is the presence of good.
And afar off too is the good.
And afar off too is the good.
And so it is.
And so it is.